cultural change and how to manage cultural change. Okay. So first of all, we need to understand when we say culture, what do you mean by culture? So basically, culture represents the shared values, attitudes, and beliefs of a group of people, right? Yes, the values, the attitudes, and what they believe in. Uh, So in international business, we say understanding the cultural landscape is very important because it can decide whether, or it's a deciding factor whether a business will be successful in a foreign country or not, right? It's a determining factor. So every business, once you want to move or expand into another country, we have to understand that culture varies from country to country. So the new country you are going into, the culture there, the belief system, the attitudes of the people there, what they value and stuff are different from where you were operating. So if you don't take those factors into consideration, you are likely to fail because you are going to meet different environments altogether. And the strategies you were using in your host country will not favor you in the foreign country you are entering. Yeah, so we say that's why we say it's very important or significant to understand the cultural landscape in every um, country you are expanding into as a business, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
But also, it is also very difficult to assess the cultural landscape, right? It's very difficult. We'll look at why we say it's difficult, but we also look at how to, even though it's difficult, but how to navigate all those things, all those cultural related issues. So the reason why we say culture is difficult to assess is that one, you see, even within a country, okay, you can have people that have multiple cultural identities.
Yes, sir.
We are going to take, for example, Ghana. Okay,
Yes, sir.
people can, we have the general culture, maybe based on ethnicity. Even within the language, the ethnic groups we have in Ghana, there are variations in culture.
Yes, sir.
If you take somebody from maybe the Akan ethnic group and then somebody from maybe the Upper East, maybe Frafra, there are some differences in their culture. Is that not so?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, and even religious basis on religious grounds, Islam, Christianity, and traditionalists, there is still variations.
Yes, sir.
Most people who affiliate to the Islamic religion would forbid the taking of alcohol because of religious grounds,
Yes, sir.
right? And traditionalists, for them, it will be normal thing, or even the Christian religion. There are some within the Christian religion, there are some who also forbid
Yes.
the taking of alcohol,
Alcohol. Yes, sir.
right? Yes. And not only ethnicity, we also have it on professional grounds. You may be affiliated to some professional entity that might also influence your values and beliefs. If you take doctors, for instance, lawyers, for instance, accountants, you see, they have their independent values and stuff that govern the individuals who affiliate themselves or who are members of that association, right? Yes.
Yes, sir.
So why we say it's very tricky to assess is because several or people can affiliate to multiple cultural identities. That's one. And also there are subcultures. So you can have cultures within or subcultures within a bigger culture. So if you look at people in the urban and rural, maybe the people in the urban settlements, because of certain exposure, their way of life is different from the people in the rural areas, the villages,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
who haven't gotten that kind of exposure. So you will realize that within this same category of people, their values and beliefs will also vary.
Yes, sir.
Right. Yes. So that's why we say it's difficult to assess. But yes, so that doesn't mean that you cannot um, find a way to understand it and navigate it as a business when you want to enter or operate in a foreign country. So let's look into details the cultural factors that affect international business operations. From last week's lecture, I'm sure you are familiar with this diagram here, right?
Yes, sir.
Hmm. So we did an introduction and then we basically glanced through the factors, but today we are picking them individually. So cultural factors, and the cultural factors we have cultural awareness, identification and dynamics of culture, behavioral practices affecting businesses, and then strategies for dealing with cultural differences. So these are all the factors we are going to look at that are under cultural factors, right? Ah. So when we are talking about behavioral, then we will be looking at the people factor,
Mm,
right? We'll be looking at the people factor. So when a business when a business wants to enter international boundaries, if you want to deal in international businesses, you are going to mainly be dealing with people, right? And these people can have different cultures. So we say that this diversity in culture can either or can help you innovate, or you can leverage on all these people's what do you call it, cultural orientations or ideas. You can leverage on it and innovate strategies that will help you succeed, right? Or it can also be a challenge for you. Okay, it can create a challenge for you, such as what the case of what we call cultural collusion, right? When you have people with several cultures and you find that one person's culture is colliding or against the other, it creates problems, right? And that's what we mean by cultural cohesion. So it's two edges of the sword. It can either benefit you or it can also be a problem for you to address. Uh, let's look at in some countries, when it comes to work, okay, some countries are much focused on the job, okay, doing the job. But other countries, they are focused, they place so much emphasis on relationship building. They value relationships. So for some countries, they don't care about relationship. Like they are so individualistic. Everybody's thinking about their own. So when they come to work, the focus is on the work. We don't want to be friends with you. We don't want to
yes.
build any relationship with you. We just want to do the work. Once the task is solved, we move.
Completed. Yes.
Everybody goes home. They only know each other at work.
Yes, sir.
When they meet somewhere, they don't know each other. It's when they meet in the office, then they work. Mostly, you can find this in countries like the Western countries, US, UK, and co. If
America. Yes.
you
Yes.
Yes, if you interact with people who live there, they would give you a very clear picture of this thing. We call it the deal focus approach, right? But if you come down to Ghana or our culture here. We value the relationship more,
Yes, sir.
right? Yes, we value relationship more. If you want us to get along well or to succeed, then you have to work on building the relationship.
Yes, sir.
You get it? Yes. You have to work on building relationship and trust. That's when you can have um what do we call it? That's when your business can thrive. So if, for example, um you are trying to enter a foreign company, and then maybe there are certain regulations you need to follow or certain documentations you have to do. You are going to start interacting with people of authority. So the country you are in, for example, if it is Ghana, you have to understand that Ghana, we value relationship more. So you start building what? A relationship. If you have a good relationship with maybe the boss, the one who is supposed to sign your papers for you to get a permit, if you have a good relationship with him, then you are guaranteed that you achieve your aim. But elsewhere, if you start doing that, trying to build relationship and whatever, they will be thinking otherwise.
Yes.
Maybe they think you want to bribe them or you want to do this, but yeah, so you have to understand these dynamics, right? Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So if you're operating in a country that values relationships more, if you don't take that relationship factor, if you don't try to build a relationship, trust, that kind of personal bond with the community, the stakeholders, you will fail. Uh, and also, in Ghana, we respect hierarchy,
Yes.
right? We
Yes.
respect hierarchy. Like we want to follow the bureaucracy. So you have to start dealing with the top. You get it?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. But other places they operate a very flat system. Even a cleaner can help you get a deal done. A cleaner,
Yes, sir.
a cleaner can help you do things easily. Yeah. But certain places, no, no, no. You have to respect authority.
Mm.
Yes. Or in cases of what do we call it? If you're operating in a different country, your promotion strategies and your hiring practices will also change based on the factors or the cultural factors, right? Or these dynamics within that country. You get it. Some people, some places, they value the age. So maybe within the organization, if you want to promote somebody, you have to consider the age and then maybe the experience the person has working within the organization. But in some countries, they don't care whether the person is older or the person was already working in the organization. They don't care. So long as the person merits it, they have the qualifications, they will bring the person in to come and occupy that top position. Some places it's not done like that.
Yes.
You cannot just bring a young person and say based on merit, and then there are older elderly people older than him, and you bring that young person to come and rule them. Some places
Yeah.
it's not going to be accepted.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you are a business and you have expanded to another country, and in your host country that is normal, the foreign country you're operating in that may not be acceptable. So you have to adjust, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So these things, how do you get to know them? How do you build that cultural awareness before you start operations in a foreign country? One way is that you can conduct a research, right? You can employ the services of people who can go into that country and do some baseline research for you, right? And then bring you the findings. Yeah. So once you get those findings, it can be a basis for you to see how you can adapt or shape your activities in that country. Now, let's look at cultural formation and change. One thing we have to understand is that culture in itself is not fixed or it's not static. It can change.
Yes.
In fact, um, in Ghana, even within ourselves, most of us, our cultural perceptions have been changed.
Yes.
Yes, has been changed, and the change can be as a result of either we change it by choice, like voluntarily. Maybe um, I come across some new ideas or certain practices, and I feel like, oh, this is good. It's better than what I was thinking. You can decide to adopt those beliefs and values
Yes.
and drop what you uphold from your nation or your country, right? Huh.
Yes.
Or the change can also be imposed either through what we call cultural imperialism, the case where one culture dominates the other, like how
Okay. Yes.
Western culture is dominating traditional African culture,
Yes.
right? Can you give me an example of that?
How
Western
our
culture
marriage.
dominates. Mhm. Yes, go ahead.
So, a practical example would be how we conduct our funerals, burials, and other stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, so the traditional people, the way they do their burial and their funeral rites is totally different because of Western religions, or let's say
Hmm.
religions that were not African, like Islam and Christianity.
Yes, yes,
Our ways of doing things now have changed.
have changed. Yeah, yeah, that's very true and easily observable. So, an example we can also look at is language.
Mm.
This English, we are English that has dominated us. In fact, as I'm teaching you now, I'm speaking English,
Yes,
but it's not a native language.
yes,
It's not our language.
yes.
It was imposed on us through what colonialism,
Colonna, yes,
right? The colonizers shaped everything about us, and then
yes,
now English has become our medium of communication.
yes,
Meanwhile, I could have been teaching you with a local dialect, maybe Frafra or Dagbani
yes, yes,
or Twi,
yes,
but that's not the case. So some people are elsewhere. The English is for them, but today we are also using it,
yes,
right? How? So these are bits and pieces of how culture can be influenced. Yeah. And if you look at Western media today, what we watch, the kind of movies we watch has influenced how we
yes,
dress
yes,
or the food we eat, right? There are certain food or even drinks, they are not they are alien to us. They are not like traditionally
yes,
ours,
yes,
but we have adopted and we have even abandoned our own, and we are
yes,
more interested in the other people's own or some people's own, right? Yes. And if you look the religious basis to the wearing of salabia,
yes,
some people who happen to be Ghanaians, but Zalabia, because of religious, listen, they cherish Zalabia more than
yes,
their traditional distance. Mm.
yes,
And then suits and stuff,
yes,
right? Okay. So I mentioned how what do you call it? Language, how we have adapted the English language as which is not originally ours, right? How? But then one thing about language is that language in the context of culture is seen as something that helps or makes what do you call it? Cultural adaptation universal. Okay. For example, because we all understand English, even though it is not, we have adapted it, right?
Yes.
But it has created a universal form of communication for us. So right now, I understand Dagbani. If I speak Dagbani to you, you may not be able to respond back. Is that not the case?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then your language to maybe Frafra. If you speak
Yes.
to me, I may not be able to respond back,
Yes.
right? But we are communicating with a universal language, English,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So if you can also use that as a tool, like we call it a stabilizer, something that will make things easy for you.
Mm.
So that's one thing about language too. And also religion as well. Religion too can also create some kind of universal ground. So people can come from different cultural settings or different nations. But when they come together, the religion that they all affiliate to can form as a universal ground for them to cooperate. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So language, religion, they have that kind of characteristics as far as cultural formation or influence is concerned. Okay. So we have something we call social stratification, whereby within certain societies, people are ranked based on certain factors, like their level of education, their profession, or their ethnicity. You get it? People are regarded. Like, for example, Ghana, we we regard titles,
Yes.
right? Yeah, doctor, professor, or even some ethnic groups see themselves maybe higher
Yes.
than
Yes.
other ethnic groups. That's what I mean by social stratification. So sometimes the group you belong to, maybe the tribe you belong to, can help you succeed in certain cases, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So for countries, social stratification it varies country by country. So certain country their social stress, what they have certain things they place more importance to, which is different from other countries too. So you need to also understand the social certification in the country you are trying to operate in as well. What do they value in terms of what do we call it? People, right? Yes. If you go to the Western countries, for example, um, we when we're growing up,
Yes.
you could not easily call your elder brother by his name,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
just like that. You have to add something,
Yes.
something of
Yes.
respect,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
But elsewhere, you just call it his name, Ali
Mm.
or
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
just
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
And then if you want to greet, maybe you have to squat.
Yes.
Some places no,
Mm.
you don't squat. whether a kid is greeting an elderly or whatever,
Mm,
they just address you. Ah, so these things are very important. You have to look at. So even work motivation, what motivates people within the workplace? It varies from country to country or culture, right? Yes, people have different attitudes to work and success in general. So when we come to communication, communication is very important, as you all know, in every facet of life. Even in international business, communication is very important. So language differences, and also within what do you call it, a a nation or a cultural context, communication varies, right? Yes, communications varies. Or certain they have a certain way of communication that will vary from one country to the other. So things you have to consider can be maybe translation challenges. Maybe the first time you are going, imagine you are going to a country, you want to set up your business, a branch in Saudi Arabia. You know the people there speak what? Arabic.
all right.
Yes. So one, you may have to look for maybe somebody who will be a translator, right? Who understands Arabic and understands English at the same time to to guide you. Yeah. And also the country might have certain specific non-verbal communication rules or interpretations. Maybe examples can be eye contact. In some countries, when you are talking to somebody and you are not able to maintain eye contact, it means something.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, it means different things in different contexts or different countries. Some places they will say you are lying. It shows that you are lying.
yes,
Or some places it shows disrespect, right? Yeah, and to even put the person off, the one you are communicating with, to put them off. So eye contact can vary or can mean different things. Yeah. And
I
also,
think
yes.
sorry, I was going to say I once heard somebody say that uh, in India, when you shake your head in certain parts of India, it means yes. If somebody asks, "Are
Mm-hmm.
you so and so?" and you shake your head, it could indicate
It
you are
means
saying
you have accepted.
yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. I think I also heard that as well for India. Right. Yes. Different communication, even some places where you don't even respond to, it means that you have consented.
Mm,
They say silent means consent.
consent.
Yeah. So you have to understand all this for the specific countries that you are going to operate in. And when we talk about time and punctuality too, it's also perceived differently in different cultures or different settings. In Ghana, if we say African time, we know what it means,
Yes.
right? That is a more flexible approach to punctuality. So if I tell you 2 o'clock, I'm referring to African 2 o'clock. Mostly that's what happens. You find people coming 2:30, 2:35, 2:40, and it's normal. Some will even come at 3. If you want to talk this, oh, it's African time, then we will laugh at it and then, oh, you know, we continue with business. But some places, Germany, for example, if we say 2 o'clock,
Mm,
then 2:01,
yeah.
they can just call off the deal. Maybe you are supposed to come and sign a contract and they say 2 o'clock
Mm,
and 2:01, you are not there. That's it. Deal close. So imagine if
Yeah.
that was a contract to give you a permit to operate in that country.
Yeah.
We have lost it like that.
Yeah.
You get it? Some places, even if they say 2 o'clock, they are actually referring to like 30 minutes earlier.
Earlier. Yes.
Yes. So when you carry your host country's understanding to another foreign country,
Mm,
if you are not careful, you mess up big time.
yes, sir.
I hope that's clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So this is why if you're entering a new market, you need to try to do what we call cultural adjustment.
Yes.
Hmm? You have to look at how you can operate in that country and then without let me say, but still making sure that the objectives of your organization it doesn't change too much. Hmm? So we say that cultural adjustment involves balancing between staying true to the company's core values and adjusting to the host country's culture. Staying true to your main company. So when you set up your company, you have your objectives and everything, right? So you being able to stay true with that objectives as well as what balancing or adjusting to the foreign country you are entering into, the culture there is what we call cultural adjustment. So we're going to look at guidelines for cultural adjustments. Okay, how do you adjust? So we ask a question. Listen to the question carefully. After managers identify cultural differences abroad, that is, after you have identified cultural differences abroad, must they alter their customary practices to succeed there? I'm throwing this question to you. After
Yes,
managers
sir.
have
I'm listening.
identified key cultural differences abroad, must they alter their customary practices to succeed there?
So my response would be yes. If the business seeks to succeed in that foreign foreign land and foreign culture, it must make the necessary adjustment.
Yes, you must make the necessary adjustment if you want to succeed. Yes. All right. Thanks for the response. Let's proceed and see whether you still maintain that position or not. So we have three orientations and we'll be looking at them in detail when it comes to adjustments. We have polycentrism, we have ethnocentrism, and we have what? Geocentrism. All right. So when we say polycentrism, let's move to the next slide. Hold on. All right. So when you decide Okay.
Yes.
When you decide to when you decide to adapt to what other companies in your host countries are doing, okay, when you decide to adapt what other companies in your host when you decide to adapt everything there, their culture or whatever, then we say you are being what polycentric. Okay, you are being what polycentric. So you enter the country, you decide to say, okay, now this is a new territory. So let me just do what they are doing. Let me just adapt. You are abandoning everything of your host country. You are accepting everything that they do. Okay, yeah, that's polycentrism. But if you say no, what your host country, that's your primary country where you started operations, their cultures and values and whatever there is superior than the one of the country you are going into. So you are going to still maintain those ideologies. You are going to import them into the new environment of operations. Then we say you are being ethnocentric, meaning you regard your values, your ethnic affiliations more than others' own. Okay, that's what I mean by ethnocentrism. Okay, yes. But in between these two, polycentrism, ethnocentrism, is what? Geocentrism. That is when you try to create a balance between, you take a bit of your the foreign country. You are flexible to change, but not 100% change. You still maintain certain key principles too. Okay. Yes. Then we'll say you are being geocentric. Then we say you are being what? Geocentric. Is that clear, Gerard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's look at an example. For example, a multinational company entering Ghana decided to adapt its operations to the local cultural preferences of Ghana. But it also integrates some universal business practices like corporate governance structures. You understand? That's geocentrism. We agree to adapt to the local cultural preferences within the Ghana, which is the new country we're operating in. But we'll still make sure that our corporate governance structures will be intact. We will not change them. So you pick a bit of there and a bit of what? The other side, and you operate. That's what I mean by geocentrism. So geocentrism is like the best of both
Right.
worlds, right?
Okay, sir.
Mhm. The best of both worlds. So now, when I ask you this question, is your stance still the same, or it will change?
Yeah, so I think I'll change my stand. Yeah.
Okay. To which one? Now use the terms. Between the three
Yeah,
terms, which one will you go for?
I'll take the one that geocentrism. I think.
Good. Geocentrism. Yeah. I think I also take it so that you create a balance,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Because if you go on a stream side one, it will be a problem. So you just be in between and you'll be fine. So when you are adjusting,
So I think
mhm,
in the the border here. Um,
mhm,
there's this town called Yellow. Like immediately you cross the Burkina border,
Mm.
the very town that you cross over to.
Okay.
So some of the traders do is that they accept the
Mm.
Ghana cedi as a
Okay.
safer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think over time they have realized that if you are insisting on only safer, you
Mm-hmm.
lose a lot of customers as a result because they will have to take the Ghana cedi, find the money
Mm.
changes,
Mm-hmm.
convert it to safer before you go to do business in Burkina.
Okay.
So now they accept both currencies.
Mm. Okay.
So during Salah and Arasa, when people cross over to buy sheep and things like that, you can go with the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ghana cedi, and it's readily accepted.
Okay. Okay. So what would you relate to in terms of what we have discussed in this scenario?
The geocentrism.
That's the sentence, yes. They have now decided to adapt what to what, help both sides, so that we are not saying that unless this country's currency, no, we have adapted. Yeah, so that's geocentrism, which I think that most managers, if you are a manager of a company, you are entering a new country, you should be able to look at areas where you can what do geocentrism. Yes. Now, one final thing you have to note is that there will always be resistance. Okay. Yeah. There will always be resistance when it comes to change and culture and what have you. Yes. People resist to change. Okay. Especially anything that will contradict their core values. They will resist to it. So in order to overcome this, you you what? You make sure you engage people who are bicultural.
Yes.
You engage somebody who is used to the culture in the country you are going into, as well as the country where you are coming from, or even other country. People, when we say bicultural, people who understand different cultures. They have lived in different places and they understand the cultures there. So you make use of those people. Such a person can even be from your staff. Maybe one of your staff can be a bicultural, somebody who is experienced in what different cultures. You engage their service. They become your what? Your mediators. So when you are moving, anytime you are traveling to go and do, you move along with those people. Right? Yes. An example would be if you are a company that wants to, let's say you have a company coming from Saudi to establish in Ghana. You just need to employ somebody who understands the what? The Ghanaian landscape,
Yes.
as well as what? The Saudi landscape or the Western business landscape, right? And he will help you navigate through all the cultural challenges and stuff that is within Ghana, right? So a Ghanaian manager with experience in both local and Western business practices could help a foreign company navigate the cultural landscape in Ghana, right? Yeah. So I think this brings us to the end of our lecture for the day.
Yes.
If you have any questions, let's address it. Yeah, before we call it a day.
Yes, sir, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So, if you, upon entering into a foreign territory,
Mm-hmm.
you 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 are willing to compromise and adapt certain things from their culture. But business wise, you realize that it could affect your profit making motive. I'll try to give an example. Let's say um, in a culture where the business is coming from, they believe that whoever uh, is qualified for the job should be employed. But you cross over to a culture where they insist on gender equity,
Mhm.
where they say 50% of the staff should be male and 50% of the staff should be female. There
Mhm.
should be, and you realize that
Mhm.
based on your experience, maybe the female staff don't do as well
Mhm.
as the male staff. How do you go around that type of situation?
Yeah, it's this gender issue, right?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Yeah, so if it will affect your business success,
Yes, sir.
I don't think that, well, you should still be able to find qualified, qualified females.
Yes, sir.
You should still be able to find qualified females. Even maybe if you have to pick some people and then give them in-service training.
Okay.
But it's a very is a concept or is something that needs to be held in high regard when it comes to especially gender issues.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, gender issues is very, 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 very key. Like the strength of that argument or people who are in for that particular ideology is so high.
Yes, sir.
Once they tag in some countries, when they tag your organization as gender bias, it can
Yes.
affect you
Yes.
greatly.
Yes.
So the failure that you are even trying to avoid, it's going to happen.
Okay.
The pressures from these groups will even cause you to fail. So you have to find a way to navigate through that. Even if you have to employ people because they are females and then train them on the job, you have to do that.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. You have to do that trade-off. Yes. You employ them. So let's say you have men whom you employ, men completely, and not have to spend money to train them. And you have some females whom you can employ to create that balance, but you have to spend money to train them up to par. You have to go for that one.
Okay.
Well, if you are going to compare that trade-off of monetary investment, it is, and then the likelihood that the tag of gender bias on your organization would have on you, I think it is better to create that balance.
Yes,
Yes, the gender issue has even, I think it is almost everywhere.
yes,
Like the pressures of it has,
yes,
it's almost in every country. You understand? Let me give you an example. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. Okay. Do you know Saudi Arabia, because of their religious orientation,
yes,
several years back, women were not allowed to work. They were not allowed to
yes,
drive cars.
yes, yes,
Okay. But the pressures of the gender community now, if you now they are bending their rules.
mm,
Saudi Arabia, of all people, women drive cars now in
that's
Saudi.
now. Yes,
Yes. And even at some point, their flights, okay, Saudi Arabian Airlines, it was only male hosts. They didn't have female
mm,
hostess
okay,
because they don't allow their women to work. So which woman Saudi Arabian will you employ to be a air hostess
yes,
in the flight? But because of pressure, at some point, they started employing even women from other countries. whom their women were allowed to work in their
Mm,
flights.
mm,
Yes,
okay.
because it was going to affect them. You are not only flying within Saudi Arabia, you take
Yes,
people from Saudi to other countries. So
yes,
if you want them to patronize, you have to adjust.
yes,
You get the point. Yeah. So my answer is based on this light.
yes,
So even if you know that the women are not qualified, but you have to see how you can bring them in and train them to be qualified.
yes,
You have to find a way. If not, the influence that you don't do that, the impact you have on you will be greater than how much you will spend to train them.
yes, yes. I agree.
Okay, yes. Yeah, a lot of things now is being Saudi is a critical example of how, yeah, you have to bend your rules. Okay, once you are engaging in international business, you have to bend some of your rules. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, very well. Yeah, so this brings us to the end of our class. Thank you very much for your time. I don't know. I wanted us to see
Sir,
if we can. Mhm.
I
Yeah.
was going to say I
Mhm.
contacted the assistant registrar in charge of academic affairs.
Okay.
Right after our last meeting,
Yes.
I
Okay.
contacted him. I messaged him on WhatsApp, and he said he was going to respond to me before today.
Mm. Okay.
He hasn't done that yet, so I'll remind him.
Remind him.
He
Yeah,
said,
remind him so that we know how to track our class, right?
yes.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, can we have a class in between the weekday?
It says possible. I'll look at the day that's let's say tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, or
Mm-hmm.
Thursday. One of these days, if it will be uh, possible,
Mm.
I'll try to make time. But it will be I will have to go to work, and I'm a teacher
Okay.
as well, so
Okay.
probably close after 3.
Okay.
So
No
if
problem.
that will be
I'm okay with any time you propose. I'll adjust. Yes.
so we'll take a delay
So
from that day.
okay. So you just confirm to me the date and the time you are okay with on WhatsApp,
Okay.
right? Yeah. So that we can have that in between. So if within this week, tomorrow is Monday. So within the Monday's week, if we can meet, we'll cover another topic. So that Sunday to cover. We can be able to finish things faster.
Yes. All right.
Yeah. I hope it's understood.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that is that for